So how long is too long? I'm talking about campers. Wow. Was there a thought bubble above her head? I hope not.
I am very mature. I don't think that way. I don't know what you're, as a matter of fact, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So really, how long is too long, or is there a too long? We're talking about we're talking about campers. You know, you think about length when you're thinking about campsites, like going to national parks or state parks. Commercial campgrounds ain't really a big deal, and then length comes into play when you're thinking about pulling over to get gas. And then storage. Where are you going to park this big old long beast?
Or short beast.
Or short. And then just general maneuverability. If you've never pulled a 38-foot trailer, or you've never driven a 30-foot motorhome, it can be intimidating.
I don't drive them.
But we're going to talk a little bit about it. You know, you'd start thinking about things like, where am I going to park that silly thing? If you got a big yard, like back there, then maybe you can park it there, or if it's short enough, maybe you can park it in your driveway. So you don't have enough room in your yard to keep your RV?
Or you can't get it through the gate like in our yard.
Yeah. So you put it in storage. Well, how long your RV is actually kind of dictates how much you're going to have to pay to put your RV in storage. And then the other, you know, the maneuverability. I had a video a while back discussing driving this Class A 35-foot long RV for the first time. Discusses that, and you learn your vehicle, you learn your rig, you know, whether it's a truck and a trailer or a motorhome, you learn the rig, and you understand where you can go and what you can get through after some experience driving it around, if you're brave enough to drive it around to start with.
I'm not driving. I'm brave, but I'm not driving it. I have a condition.
And some, you know, some folks, they never really get comfortable with driving, you know, whether it's a motorhome or truck and trailer, they never get comfortable with the large setup. And we've seen a couple of YouTubers that downsized basically because they weren't comfortable with their large setup. No problem with that. You get what you're comfortable with driving. Other drivers on the road would appreciate that. And then the gas stations. You got this 40-foot long diesel pusher, tag axle, and you got to get into a gas station. You know, other than if you're lucky enough to have it, well, okay, I'm not going to say lucky enough. Let's just leave it at, if you have a diesel, then you've got truck stops. You can go through the truck lanes.
You're lucky because you can go through the truck lanes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. But gas rigs, you can't really go through the truck lanes. And you've got some gas stations out there that have RV pumps that are away from the regular islands. But your best friend is probably Google Maps. You know basically how much gas you burn in so many miles. So look at your trip for the next day. Bring up Google Maps, hone in on about where you want to refill the tank. Find gas stations, and then go to Street View and look at them from Street View.
It's a lot more work than just getting in your car and going somewhere.
Yeah. But that's what I've done.
It's worked out well.
Yeah. I mean, I've only had to unhook a car once.
We unhooked a car. That was fun. We were trying to hurry to get out of everybody's way.
Yeah. But all of that the storage, the maneuverability, the gas station, which kind of folds into maneuverability, that's really small stuff. It really is. It's, the length of our driveway actually kind of dictated how long our motorhome was going to be. But we combine it with the last subject, which is the most talked about subject when you're speaking about lengths of RVs, and that's campsite availability. With private and corporate campgrounds, it's a non-issue. I mean, you've got your pull-throughs, you'll see ads, we take 80 foot. I'm like, wow, somebody's cruising down the road 80 foot worth of rig. But where the issue springs up is with government campgrounds. If you think about government campgrounds,
Darn government.
Most of them were laid out years and years ago, back when Shastas and short airstreams were the norm. The size considerations, they worked for it back then, but nowadays we've got these 43-foot long diesel pushers with 4 slides on them, towing a trailer filled up with all sorts of lake toys, or 43-foot long fifth wheels, and you add on to that the big old pickup truck it takes to pull those fifth wheels. And it's not the easiest thing with state and national parks. Overall, National Park Service campgrounds are more tent friendly, or truck camper, or Class B friendly. You're in a natural setting. They don't want to cut down a whole lot of trees just because you drive a 43-foot diesel pusher. You get on you ask about these links on the message boards, and you'll get people, I've got a 40-foot diesel pusher and I can get everywhere I want to go. They say that with their nose in the air, and it comes across as kind of like, why are you asking such a dumb question? But what the part they don't tell you is, when they went to buy that 40-foot diesel pusher, they knew then that they were going to be limited where they could go, and they were willing to accept that. So technically, yes, they can go anywhere they want to go with their 40-foot diesel pusher. So basically, with the national parks, the longer your setup, the longer your rig, the fewer sites are available. It just means you've got to research. Go to the National Park Service website. Even go so far as to look up reservations where you can see the length of the site. What the maximum RV length is going to be for those sites. And you'll see, 21 foot, 28 foot, even 40 foot at some of the national parks. And I go back to Google Maps. You can go into Google Maps and you can actually measure the distance. You go into satellite view and look at the campsite itself, and you can measure the length of that site on Google Maps.
You can? There's like a tool?
Yeah, it's like you right click on it and select measure distance. So
Didn't know that. That's neat.
But I think Joshua Tree, I hear a lot about Joshua Tree National Park not being, not even just big rig friendly, but just motorhome friendly in general. I don't know how much truth there is to that, because I go to the website and I look, and you see you can fit 35-foot rigs in it. So, but like I said, research. But you also have to keep in mind, with national parks, you've got to book those babies early. I believe it's 12 months in advance you can book reserve sites. There are first come first serves. You got to get there early for that. For us people that are vacationers and not full timers, reservations are our friends. So you've got to book 12 months in advance at just about every national park. There's a handful of them that aren't real popular that you can probably book 3 or 4 months in advance, but like even Black Canyon of the Gunnison. Here it is, March, we're going in May. There's nothing available for a rig our size. So, state parks, actually a lot of lake and river-based state parks are big rig friendly because the sites were laid out to accommodate boaters. We stayed at Tickfaw State Park in Louisiana, and those sites, I don't know how long they were, but we probably could have put 3 of our trailers on this one site. I mean, it was long, 80 foot long, every bit of 80 foot long. And all the sites were like that, but it was because the park is laid out for boaters. People pulling boats, people bringing in campers and a boat. Down at Lake Murray, Martin's Landing, their campsites are actually double wide. They're deep enough, but they're also double wide where campers can put their boats in beside their camper. Some states' length does become an issue, like Florida. What was it? Manatee Springs State Park. When we had the pop-up, I think that pop-up had an 18-foot box on it, so it was a short trailer. It was still a challenge to get it backed into the site. I don't think, there's no way we could have gotten this beast backed into that site that we were in. So, and then even over at St. Andrews State Park, things are a little tight. Now they do have sites there that motorhomes can get in pretty easy, but there are probably the majority of the sites are pretty tight. And you go over to Florida Cavern State Park, and the site that we stayed in there was real tight, not just getting backed into it, but as far as width, in between the trees. And then what was it, St. George Island, that was another tight spot. So we've been in a lot of tight spots in Florida. Oklahoma, not so much.
Oklahoma's got a lot of boaters, though.
Yeah. And then New Mexico. So it's, people want to shy away from the longer rigs because of getting into state parks or national parks, and really, it's kind of an exaggeration.
Ooh, along the river in Colorado, those were some short little places.
Yeah.
Those first come, first serve.
Yeah. It is a little bit of an exaggeration. It just takes a little bit more research, a little bit more time when you're planning out your trip or your vacation.
He plans well, and it actually makes it really nice that we don't have to worry about getting there and saying, "Oh, this isn't fun."
Those are my thoughts on RV length. I mean, really, when we got our 35-foot motorhome, we had 2 determining factors. One was we wanted more availability with national parks, more options with national parks, and we had to fit it in the driveway.
And what's awesome is those numbers coincided about perfectly.
Yeah, 35 foot.
Yep.
And in the research I did, there's really not a magic number. I mean, you're kind of led to believe that there's a magic number that, well, if it's anything below 35 foot, then you can get into all the national parks, or 28 foot. you know, something I did find out that was those numbers changed as the rigs got longer and longer over the decades.
That's
Not
funny.
necessarily at the sites themselves, but just as a general consensus among
How big you can fit in there.
consumers. But so next week we'll be posting a road trip video, first one in a while. Lake Eufaula State Park in eastern Oklahoma, out by the city of Eufaula.
That's odd coincidence.
It is an odd coincidence.
Wonder why they named it Lake Eufaula.
It is after the town.
You sure? It wasn't just coincidence?
Yep, she's drunk, people. We will catch you down the trail.